Lately, you might have been seeing a lot of people using like Claude Code to design directly in Figma. This is super powerful and definitely the cutting edge of what we can do right now. We can generate components, automatically build design systems in Figma, or even turn our designs into reality directly in a code base. The way that we're able to do this is by using a new tool called Figma Console MCP, built by TJ over at Southleft. There's clearly been a ton of work on this and it's changing really quickly. So I wanted to make a quick video on how to get it set up, what we can do today, and the current limitations. Okay, so how can something like GPT or Claude be able to do this? Well, there are two kind of key concepts that we need to understand and about how models work. The first concept that we need to understand is tool calling. Tool calling is how the model is able to essentially perform actions. The LLM can output an instruction like how many lines of code are there in this file. It'll wait to get that information back, and then the LLM will run again with the answer and then do another read or write operation, essentially forever until the task is complete. Tool calling is trained into the model and built into your CLI or editor. Effectively, if you hear the word harness, this is what a harness is. The other concept that we need to understand is an MCP server. What is an MCP server? An MCP server is basically an external server that the model can communicate with. It allows Claude or GPT to get external information from other apps like Figma and perform functions with that information. So for instance, the model can ask, what component does the user have selected? Then with that information, it could take a screenshot or fetch layout information. Your CLI or editor basically provides the harness for the LLM to make tool calls. So the only missing piece here is the MCP server, or in other words, the bridge to Figma. Right now, we basically have two competing options here. We have the official Figma MCP server, which you can try, but kind of the key problem here is it's unidirectional. So the LLM can only receive information from Figma and it cannot write it. And at least in my experience, when I have tried to use it, the outputs are quite noisy and not very helpful for the model to do much with. The other option that we have, and what we're gonna be using today, is Figma Console MCP, which as of today totally blows Figma's official tooling out of the water. And I think it's kind of the start of how we as designers are going to be working in the future. Future Evan here. Literally 2 hours ago, Figma just released their sort of agent bidirectionality. It's beta, and I suspect it's not quite as good as Figma Console MCP. But in my next video, I'm going to be going over it, giving it a try, and comparing it with our current solution. So how do we install this? Well, we basically have to have our editor run an MCP server that Figma can effectively connect to. I'm most familiar with Codex, so that's what I'm using today. But if you use like Claude Code or Cursor or any others, I will have additional information in the description box. Jumping into Codex, all we have to do is go to settings here, and then MCP server. And we're going to add a server. And we're going to call it Figma Console MCP. The command to launch is going to be npx. The first argument is -y. And then the next one, I always forget this one, is going to be Figma Console MCP at latest right here. For the environment variables, we just have to do Figma access token and then enable MCP apps. We're going to set that to true. After this, we just need to grab our access token from Figma. So we just want to pop back into Figma, go home, go to your user settings here, security, click generate a new token, and I'm going to name it the same thing to keep things similar. Expiration, 90 days. And for scope, I kind of recommend just checking all of these. None of these permissions are particularly egregious, very unlike like GitHub or anything. And we're just going to generate token, copy this, and we'll never see it again. So just make sure you do copy it, close it, and we'll jump right back into Codex here and paste it into the environment variable slot. Now we can save, and we might as well hit restart here just to be sure that it loads up. Now that we're set up on the editor side of things, we just need to connect to the server on Figma's end by running the actual Figma Console MCP plugin. Because we're using npx, the plugin isn't really installed, And basically, it's just going to be in the temporary system files. To find that, TJ has given us a really convenient terminal script right here. I'll have that down below, just copy. And we just open up terminal, paste it in, and will give us the path to the manifest.json that Figma needs to load for the plugin. So I'm just going to copy this, go back into Figma, go to my file, my working file here, go to plugins, development, and import plugin from manifest. To go directly to a path in Finder in macOS, you can just hit Shift-Command-G and paste that in, and it'll be this option right here. So just click that and click open, and the plugin has been imported. And all we have to do is just start it up here. After this, it should always show up in your Figma plugin list. Okay, so now that we have that all set up, let's tab back into Codex or whatever editor you're using and see what we can do. The first thing that we want to ask is just to check the status of the server. So we can just do check bridge status and see if it's fully working right now. So we're good. Let's try to put something together. The first thing that I want to do is to build some variables and start building on top of that foundation. Create a set of base value grays. We want subtle gradation on both ends. Okay, create a set of base grays, 1 through 12, 1 being the lightest. We want subtle gradation on both ends, so going from 6 to 7 will be abrupt. Okay, that was really quick. That only took a few seconds. Let's see what it built for us. Okay, that's pretty good. I'd say the I don't really like that 6 to 7 isn't as abrupt, but let's go with it. Now I want to ask it to create some alias variables. Using our base grays, create a new collection of alias variables like BG primary, BG secondary, tertiary, etc. Okay, let's see what it does. So I do notice that there is some issues definitely with the MCP. I ran into this async problem a lot, and it isn't really a problem. Like the model will figure it out ultimately, but I think there can be improvement in the future. Okay, that took a little bit longer than the last time that I ran this, but let's see how it did. Yeah, I'd say that's pretty decent. Grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, grade 12, grade, okay. The border colors are correct. Now I'm gonna try to test it a little bit. I want to create some button components with this. Please create a button component using our alias variables. Also forgot to set up a brand color. I think so much of this is going to be like perfecting the perfect prompt and then just sitting here just like waiting. Okay, it definitely took a lot longer than I expected it to take. The last time that I ran this, it did it pretty quickly. Kind of the critical problem with all of these models right now is that none of them have been trained on any design. Or if they have, it's very limited to things that are more developer-oriented like Tailwind. As these tools evolve, like Figma Console MCP, these models will be trained on it and it will get a lot better. Pretty decent here. We have a brand button, tertiary, secondary, primary button. Are they going to work with dark mode? They do. That's pretty good. I'm just going to try to do one more round just to have it add hover and disabled states. Let's let this run and see what it comes up with. Interesting. Okay, so we have two collections here. I think it created a new one. Hover, disabled. Okay, that's pretty good. This is pretty cool. Primary, brand, defaults. Yep, that looks pretty good. So these are pretty simple examples, but they show you kind of the foundation of what's possible and everything can kind of build on top of that. Often I'm creating a product screen before I break it into separate components. So could I have it take this app screen, name everything, and split it into reusable components? So let's give that a try right now. I've selected a sidebar component, my app screen. Ooh, can you turn the buttons into a primary button component with different variants, name everything, and replace it in the app view so it's ready for use across different screens. I think I could have given it a little bit better clarity about kind of the types of buttons that we need. That would definitely improve output, but let's see if it can just kind of infer what I meant. I think this is probably going to take a while, so we'll see what it looks like when it's finished. It looks like it split everything off into separate components. That's kind of what I wanted. I would have liked to have the buttons kind of unified as variants. I can probably do a pass to request that it do that. Okay, so I actually had a bit of a conversation here. It did a great job. I had to ask it to clean up some of the button components. Then I decided that I wanted the whole tree structure named, and it did a pretty good job. Towards the end here, I think it was getting a little bit confused with stale data, and it wanted to rebuild all the buttons. So I just stopped it, and everything looks good. So what else can we do? I think as designers, we're headed in the direction of working directly in code, whether that's prototyping a mockup or you're just building a landing page. I've scaffolded a basic Versal website in VS Code, and now we can literally just ask it to transfer over our design tokens and styles. We're going to be using the variables and buttons that we have just made to do this. I've asked, using Figma Bridge, please create a tokens.css with our base values and alias values. Then, using Radix UI, may need to be installed, create a button component with the same variant types from Figma and place them on a grid in the landing page, replacing the default Next.js. So you can see what it looks like right now, and we'll see what it looks like after. Okay, it finished up here. Let's see how it did. Whoa, I didn't expect it to do this whole styling right here. Usually 5.4 is not very good at design, but it did a pretty good job here. I think this did a pretty excellent job for basically no designing on my end. What did we learn from all this? I don't think any of this is going to replace me or you as a designer anytime soon, but I think it's helpful augmentation and it's only going to get better. I recommend getting set up with a tool like this just to see how it can fit into your existing workflow and how it may be able to improve it today. I'd say it's just fun to be on the bleeding edge personally. But as these tools improve, so too will you as a designer. Anyways, thanks for watching. Hopefully this was helpful. And if it was, get subscribed because I'm going to try to make more of these types of videos.